our three OTs, Samantha Fisher, who will introduce the services that we provide and enjoy, and there'll be plenty of time for questions at the end. Over to you, Sam.
Thank you, Lee. Okay, let me just put this on slides. So my name's Samantha Fisher. I'm one of the occupational therapists here. I've been with Motor Neuron Disease Queensland since March, end of February, start of March. My background is actually an aged care background, but I've been doing that for 7 years. So I took a year off to have a little boy, and now I've come back into the MND sector. So a wealth of knowledge there, I believe. So the presentation today is about the equipment for MND and what we could see throughout your journey with MND or your family's journey with MND. So I was just going to go through a little bit of background about the OT team that we currently have, who our therapists are, and then our OT scope of practice, and then we'll go through some equipment. So our OT team, so this is our lovely picture. We have myself, so I work Monday, Tuesday, Wednesdays. Peter works Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, and we've got Hannah returning from maternity leave full-time from August. So we're going to have just over 2 full-time therapists between the team. All of us have been in the industry for at least 7, 8 years. We're all classed as seniors. So all that we do all day, every day is MND. So this is our speciality. We don't see any other conditions. So this is what we are focused on. A little bit about the OT scope of practice. So within OT, we look at a range of things around the house. So we're doing home modifications, so whether we've got to put ramps in, do bathroom modifications, widen doorways, looking at stair lifts if you've got a 2-storey property, and a whole lot of stuff around that. In terms of equipment, we do a lot of equipment that you'll see today, and that's all on our recommendation, depending on what is specific for that person at that time. One thing with MND, you will have a range of equipment, and it is going to progress throughout your journey. So there's no point us bringing in a whole heap of equipment on day one that you're not going to need for 6 to 12 months. We're going to do that incrementally. So it may be that we start to talk about something just before we think it might be needed, but we may be doing that so that we've got time for you to get your head around it, and also we've got time to do our applications for NDIS for funding, which can take some time, and also sourcing some of that equipment can take time as well. So we like to introduce it a little bit earlier before it becomes a crucial that you need it. We also do a lot of education on positioning, in bed, in chair, mobility, your gait, so you're walking, how you're walking, things that can help you around the house in low-cost aids, and a whole range of different things. So it's not just going to be the OT comes in and does 1 or 2 sessions and then you don't see us for 6 to 12 months. You're going to see us quite regularly, because we're going to be monitoring your progression as well and what equipment you need for the next stage. So some equipment, I've sort of broken this down into different sections. So I've got a slide on bathroom equipment, a slide on mobility equipment, one on hoists, and some other communication aids and just some other things as well. So my plan today was just to put some pictures up on the screen, and then I just talk about what those pieces of equipment are and why we would use them and why we won't use them. You may not see all of these pieces of equipment. You may see them all. You may see 1 or 2 of these from each slide. It really depends on what your journey is. So can you see my cursor? No. Can you see my cursor now? No, that's okay. Give me 1 second. Okay, can you see that on the screen? I think so. So in terms of this equipment. So this is all the equipment that we'd use over the toilet or in the shower. So when you first get diagnosed, your transfers are normally okay. So getting up off the chair or getting up off the toilet. But as your disease progresses, we may see weakness of the lower limbs, or weakness of the upper limbs, which makes getting up off a piece of equipment a little bit harder. So one of the first things that people find a little bit more difficult is getting on and off the toilet. So this photo here, this is what we call a toilet riser. It comes in different sizes, but it just attaches on the top of your toilet to give you a little bit more extra height. So it comes in 8 centimetres, 5, 8 and 10 centimetres heights. That's a real easy, discreet option that it just makes it a little bit easier for you to stand up off the toilet. If that is not working for you, or we need some support on the sides, we may go for an option like this. So this is what we call an over toilet frame. This, so it just sits over the toilet. It's completely height adjustable. So we can put it to the right height for what your toilet is and what the client or your family or yourself requires. So we've got a little trough inside of it just as a splash guard to make sure that we're not getting splashback outside of the toilet, because it does raise it a little bit, but it also gives you some handles on the side to be able to push up and transfer off the toilet a little bit easier. If that becomes a little bit too hard and walking to the toilet's getting hard or difficult, then we'll go these sort of options. So these are wheeled options called mobile commodes, mobile shower commodes, because these can be used in the toilet or shower. So these are, it's like a little wheelchair that we put you on, but it's got, as you can see, it's got cutouts in there for your bottom, so we can go over the toilet. These are also good when you start to lose a little bit of your core strength as well, that it gives you that little bit more support. As I said, these can be used in the shower as well. So also in the shower, we know that fatigue is a big issue for our clients with MND, so they get fatigued. So sometimes standing in a shower can be quite difficult. So what we do is we have a look at, do an assessment of your bathroom before we give you any of these pieces of equipment, and we look at your shower to whether you've got a hob, so a little step into the shower, or whether we can wheel a piece of equipment straight into the shower. Or, sorry, I'm getting distracted, but that's okay. Staff members playing with my son, so it's all good. So we have a look at your shower. So there's two options here. This one here is a shower stool. So it's a little bit smaller and more compact. It doesn't have a backrest, so we need to have pretty good core strength for this one. But it allows you just to have a little rest in the shower and still be able to do that task fairly easily. We've got this one here, which is a shower chair. These, because they've got that backrest, they give you a little bit more support, but they are that little bit bigger. So we need to look at the space in your shower to whether they would fit, or whether it's going to take too much room and that your carer or yourself can't shower yourself effectively. So there's a lot of things that we're thinking about when we're talking about different pieces of equipment. So these are both good if you can still stand over that hob or the step in your shower, or you've got a flat shower. These ones here, we can't have that hob. We need to be able to roll it straight into the shower. But it also means with these two that we don't have to do another transfer from the toilet to the shower. We can just sit on it, go over the toilet, do your hygiene cares, and then go straight into the shower. So it is good to reduce that transfer as well. This one up here, this is what we call a sliding transfer board. It, as the name says, it slides across this middle rung, and we've got 2 legs outside your shower and 2 legs inside your shower. So it means that we can sit on the shower chair, the sliding transfer board outside of the shower, and then we just push back into the shower. It helps us when we can't actually do that step anymore, but we need a little bit more support than these chairs here. But we also need to work out how we're going to help. So sometimes we'll bring in these sort of devices. They are a little bit bigger. They're about a metre long, so they're a little bit longer. So we've got to look at the space as well with that one. Okay. I hope that makes sense with all of those. I might just stop and ask if anyone's got any questions at this point.
I've muted everybody, Sam. So if
Okay.
any questions, if you can put up your hand or unmute yourself.
Yeah, okay, cool.
So Janet's got a question.
Sam, just flipping back, nothing about any of the equipment, but you talked about applications for equipment going to NDIS. Is that the same sort of process for aged care?
My aged care, it's slightly different. So we don't have a lot of that funding that NDIS has got for funding. So it is a little, it depends on what your package is to how much funding we have for equipment.
Yep,
I should have said at the start, at MND Queensland, as you're probably aware, we have a massive range in our hire pool. So you're able to hire most of the equipment that we will recommend with a one-off fee.
Yep,
so we normally go down that route rather than purchasing for my aged care clients, because we know that your funding does not cover it for purchase.
Thank you.
In terms of these equipment, this sort of equipment, I would normally be hiring for NDIS clients as well, just because we know that most of it's going to be pretty short-lived. And it is fairly low-cost items. Like a shower chair is about $100. So it is easier just to hire than to do an application, wait for it to be delivered, whereas I can get it out pretty much immediately.
Yep. Okay. Yep. Thank you.
That's okay. Okay, thanks so much. Any other questions? Okay. I might move on then to the next slide. There we go. So the next one is on some mobility equipment. So when you first start your MND journey, you may have reasonably good balance and still walking as you were before your diagnosis. As you start to progress, we look at some other pieces of equipment to help with your balance if you're having some falls or getting a little bit unsteady on your legs. So our first port of call is normally this one here, which is a 4-wheel walker. Pretty stock standard. It's all height adjustable as well, so we'll fit it to you. It just gives you that little bit more support so that you're able to put some weight through your arms and be able to mobilise a little bit easier. For some clients, we may go towards something like this, which we call a forearm support frame or a rollator. So this is your forearms go on the pads up here, but it means you've got even more support than a 4-wheel walker. Okay. The next stage after that, when your legs start to go a little bit further, with both of these, we might be looking at this one. I know it's a very, very small photo, but this is a manual wheelchair. So it's a standard wheelchair that you'll see around, that someone can push you, or if you've still got arm strength, that you can push around yourself. They're pretty standard that we will prescribe fairly early on, just so that we know that you're safe for longer distances as well with that fatigue. Then we go into these more higher class options. This one here is a manual wheelchair still, but it's a larger wheelchair that actually can tilt you back as well. So we've got that tilt-in function. It allows us also to have more be more customizable to the client. So we can put different cushions on for pressure relieving qualities. We can put different backrests on for your positioning and support. We can also add things like lateral supports to hold you in one position in the upright seated position. We can put a headrest on it to make you more comfortable as well. So that's more of a manual option. When we go down that option, it is a lot larger and it doesn't fold down like your standard manual wheelchair will. So when we start looking at this option, we'll start having a discussion with you about wheelchair taxis, because these can fit into taxis, or whether we need to start looking at modifying your vehicle to fit some wheelchairs so that you can just roll up into the wheelchair and tie it down and click it into a system. But we can do modified vehicles as well. We know with MND, a lot of our clients, some of them really like modified vehicles, some of them don't. So it is completely up to you guys on how your journey looks. We will support you in everything with your journey, and it is your decision for everything as well. For the My Age Care guys, unfortunately, your funding 99.99% of the time will not cover a modified vehicle. So we'll be looking at the taxi option. With wheelchair taxis, we can apply for a taxi subsidy scheme as well, which doesn't pay for the full fare of your taxi, but it does help contribute to the cost of it. It's just to help with that cost, because we know that they can get quite expensive. If we are wanting to go down these sort of routes, so these are our power mobility options. So we've got our generic scooter here. They're great for just whizzing around town from home. They're not very customizable for us. We can't change the seat, we can't change the backrest. So it's very much, we try and find one that works well for you, but they're not always going to be as customizable. They also don't have much adjustability in the seat positioning, backrest, everything like that. So some people like these options. The other option here is a power wheelchair. So this power wheelchair is very much like the tilt in space wheelchair we've got here. We can customize this as much as we physically need. For these, we can change the width of them, we can change the depth, we can change the seat, the backrest, the armrests, the headrest, the leg rests, everything we can change and make that really customizable so it fits your body perfectly. We have a lot of power wheelchairs in our warehouse as well for hire. So all of this equipment we have for hire as well. For NDIS clients, we may be looking at that hire option. We may be looking at putting an NDIS application in for a purchase of these as well. So when we start looking at these options, the two powered options, as OTs, we've got a lot more paperwork to do to make sure you are safe in them. So we've got to do a lot of more risk assessments, cognitive assessments, just for some safety. So it's not just okay, let's look at power and then within 2 days you can have it. It may take us a week or two to do that paperwork beforehand to make sure you are suitable for that option. We will talk you through everything at that time. So don't be scared if we start talking about power mobility. It could be that we're just talking about it may be good in 2-3 months time. It may be that we're just trying to raise that idea to let you know what might be coming up fairly soon for you. In terms of the power wheelchairs, these have got so many amazing features now, and it depends on the model that we're looking at for you to what features it will have. This particular one here, the backrest reclines back, so you can pretty much go into a laying position. The seat comes up, so you can pretty much go from here to like here to help with pressure care. You can do them independently, so you can be essentially flat. This one here also has the leg as an electric, so we can bring your legs up as well. This is really good for our clients that have some increase in pain or some pressure injuries. That means they can change their position quite regularly without having to change what they're sitting on at that point of time. So it is very customizable and normally works quite well with our clients. So you'll see with this one, it's actually got 6 wheels. So this is what we call a mid-wheel drive. So it means that the middle wheel is you drive forward, but the other 2 are your turning wheels. So it means that we've got a really good turning circle on these. Some of the other ones you'll see as a rear wheel drive, so that wheel is slightly more back, and then we've got the 4 wheels, and it just means that they're going straight, and then your front wheels are your turning wheels, like a car essentially. So it really depends on what our turning circle needs to be to what kind of drive we'll prescribe for you. Okay, any questions on powered or mobility equipment?
I'd like to ask a question about the motorised wheelchair.
Yes.
I'm in a motorised wheelchair that's 10 years old, and I've been given mass funding to fund it. I'm too old for the NDIS. Yes. I'm in an aged care facility, and it's going to take between 10 to 12 weeks before I get my new chair.
Yes.
The OT wasn't with motor neuron. I asked for it. I'm somebody that understood motor neuron because I've only been diagnosed since August last year.
Yes.
So I'm new to the motor neuron symptoms. I thought I had spinal trouble from 2012. That's why I'm in a wheelchair.
Yes.
But this wheelchair is not suitable anymore. It's not comfortable, it's not suitable, and it's worn out.
Yes.
But what I'm wondering, can I have some prices about hiring one until my one comes through?
Absolutely.
I 12 weeks. I'm sitting on a cushion that's worn out. The gel cushion is worn out.
Yeah.
The backrest is not right. The headrest is not right.
Yeah. So anyone with MND can access our hire pool. What we need is your OT. She or he can come out and actually have a look at our warehouse and see what one will fit for you, and then we can do the hire.
My OT from here.
Yes. Yep. Yep. So external OTs can hire from our hire pool as well. It just saves us coming out and doing an assessment when they already know your measurements and what you already need. So, yep. If they just want to contact our equipment service team, which I'm sure Lee will be able to give you the information on.
Yes.
And they can organise that.
Can Lee document that down to give me a call and talk about that?
Yep, sure.
Okay, thank you.
Just, there is an online referral form that the Allied Health complete, but just so that you know that for the over 65s, it's a flat fee for a power wheelchair of $450, and then the gel cushion is $150, and that includes the delivery from Brisbane office and the.
Can I have that? Yeah, I need that in writing so I can absorb it in my head.
Okay, all right then. Yeah. I'll Sandy's your coordinator.
Yes, Sandy. I spoke to Sandy this morning.
Yep. Okay. Well, I'll let Sandy know, and then that way she can give you all the information.
Thank
okay.
You.
All right.
Thank you so much.
Are there any other questions? Okay, I might move on to the next slide then. So the next one we had was some beds. I put in beds because they've been a massive request for us lately. So here are 3 different types of beds that we can prescribe with NDIS, or sometimes we can do them for my aged care as well. This first one is a standard hospital style that you'll see in aged cares, hospitals, all of that. It's got a lot of different features to it, and each bed has got different features that we'll be looking at as well. So this one, as you can see, we've got a head raise on it. We can also bend the knee here. So that allows us to put our legs up a little bit more and take that pressure off your lower back. Some of them also have Trendelenburg, which means that we can put the head of the bed up and the feet down, or we can put the feet up and the head down. So we've got different features like that. In terms of MND hire, we have a couple of these in our hire stock that you can hire. Then we're looking over these 2. these two are the main ones that we will prescribe if we're doing one for NDIS. So this one's called an Avanti, which is the brand. It looks like an ensemble, but it's got the same features as this one here. So we've got the head rise, the knee brake. Sometimes you can normally do them independently or do them together. These two you can also do what we call a companion bed, which is put two beds side by side so that you can still keep sleeping beside your partner, which we know is important for our MND clients. This bed here is an eye care bed. It's got the same functionality as the Avanti, but this one also has the Trendelenburg, so it's got the head up and feet up. So it's got those different features in it. This one here, the Avanti, you'll see that it is quite low to the ground. So in the future of the MND journey, you may have to start looking at some hoists. So we've got to just look at this one very, very carefully because we know that a hoist will not fit underneath it, but the way around it is we just swap out the wheels to a slightly larger wheel and then we can get that through. Whereas this one here, as you can see, we've got a lot more clearance to get a hoist underneath. All three of these models also are all height adjustable, so we can go from really low to quite high in the air to help with your transfers on and off the bed, and also to help staff down the track when they're going to start helping you with bed cares as well, just so they're not hurting their backs. So we tell them to bring it up to about their waist height. It finds like you're in the air, but you are completely safe with the carers there. Okay, that's pretty much those beds. Did anyone have any questions about beds? I know I did that very, very quickly. The only other thing with beds is with my aged care clients, we normally can't get a bed funded, so we look at our hire pool. But for our NDIS clients, we can definitely get a bed approved. NDIS will fund your side of the bed, and if you want that companion side, so that second side, then that'll be a self-funding for that side. When we do the trials, we can talk to you about the costs as well, around that. With NDIS for our equipment at the moment, it's taking about 12 weeks to get our reports approved from NDIS. And I know that these beds here have about an 8-week wait time after the payment has been made. So approval, we make payment, which can take a week or two, and then about 8 weeks for them to be delivered as well, because they are custom made each time. So with this eye care one, we can do lots and lots of different colours of your outer part of the bed. So at the office we have a fabric sample as well, so we can go through some fabrics as well, just to we want to make this journey less medical, so that if someone walks into your house, it looks like it's a regular bed. We can look at bed heads, we can look at lots of different things, so it looks like a regular bed in a room. Okay. Any questions?
And that's what we were talking about.
I'll go on to the next slide. This slide looks like a very, very, very scary slide.
Excuse me, Sam, can you just turn around and tell them to shush behind you?
Okay then, I've got a couple more questions for you if you've got some time.
Sorry, Peter. She's going to go into the therapy room. Is that better?
Yes, I've been sending messages, but nobody is obviously reading the messages.
Yeah, Jason just came out as well. So, yeah, it's all good. I'm sorry. I should have got into the therapy room myself. Okay, so this slide looks very scary. It's not. So these are some pieces of equipment that we can use to help you move around the house or to get from point A to point B, whether it's from chair to chair or bed to chair, without having to use your legs as much. The first one is what we call a Sarah Steady. This is a piece of equipment that you stand up with, and we put paddles behind your bottom, and it just helps you support into that perch position. This then you can just turn around and stand up again and sit down into that next piece of equipment. All three pieces of equipment, I always recommend that they can't move more than 1 metre with you in it. So they're for a transfer, they're not for mobility. So it's not to get in them and then go down a hallway or go from bedroom to bathroom that's 20 metres away, okay, up to 1 metre. This next option is what we call a standing hoist. We use some carers as well with this one. I just don't have a picture with them. So you're sitting with a wheelchair behind here, or a chair, your armchair, anything like that. We put this sling around you and it goes onto your lower back. We clip it in and then we'll talk to you about it, but we'll say we're going to start lifting this bit up here and it is going to help you to stand up. It's not to pull you up. You still need to have some leg strength to assist it to stand up, but it is that assistance. The next option is what we call a full hoist. So I know this picture isn't very clear, so I apologise. This is a full sling that goes underneath you and then clips between your legs. It then clips up to the boom here, onto the yoke. This then picks you up completely off the ground without you having to do any work whatsoever. So it's when you have no trunk strength left, or your legs can't hold your weight anymore, we sometimes have to look at this option. These two hoists may not be the one that exactly comes into your house. We have some different models in our warehouse that have the combination of these two together. It just means that if we're giving you one piece of equipment, it does two things, so that it's got a longer duration in your house. All three of these we hire through MND. We wouldn't normally do a purchase of these just because we had them for hire and they're just relatively expensive pieces of equipment. This first one here, the Sarah Steady, is very, very popular. As soon as we get it back into the warehouse, it's gone within a day or two. So this one I may do a purchase of through NDIS, or we can even look at external providers that can do a hire for us. So we can hire from external providers as well. Okay. Does anyone have any questions about this sort of equipment? Okay, I might move on to the next slide. The next slide is more of our fun pieces that we might describe. So this was worked with our speech pathologist as well, because most of this stuff will be done in conjunction with our speech pathologist. So there's sometimes pieces of equipment that OTs prescribe, but we need a speech pathologist to look at your swallowing or to look at your speech and do some things before we can prescribe these items. So this main picture we've been having a lot of questions about recently. This is called an OB feeder. So this is a robotic arm that picks pieces up from the tray in front of you, and then it can bring it up towards your mouth, and then you'll lean forward to take food off that spoon. So it means you don't have to use your arms for it at all, because we know that repetitive movement of bringing a fork to your mouth is quite fatiguing, or some people can't even bring their hands to their mouth because of this type of MND that they have. So then we'll look at these sort of like an OB feeder. We currently have 2 of these in our hire pool. They are under high demand as well. So NDIS will do that trial, and then we'll look at a purchase through the NDIS funding for that. The next one here is what we call an eye gaze system. So this is when you've lost your ability to talk. We have a computer screen in front of you and it locates your eyes and you're able to look at that word that you want to type and then it'll type for you. So that's a different one as well. Some people really like eye gazes. Some people, it's too much technology for them and they do struggle with it. And we understand that, so we're going to help you with that journey as well. This one here, it looks like just a heap of things on a desk. These are what we call switches. So we have different buttons or different pressure pads that we can use to be able, if you lose your hand function and have got no more movement in your hands, instead of trying to fumble to press a button or text or something like that, we can do a big button so that you're just completely leaning on that button and it'll call. We can set these up with your bed remote control, your TV, the OB, with the eye gaze, with a whole range of different things. So we've got a full box of switches that we'll come out with. And sorry, Son's getting chatty, he's getting bored. A full range of switches that we'll find the right one for you at that point of time. But we can pretty much automate most things with a switch as long as we've got the right technology behind it. In terms of this one, this is more of a speech pathology device, so it's just a communication book, just pictures within a book within different categories that we can just point to and just say yogurt or water, shower, thank you, please. When you start to lose your voice, it just gives you a way to communicate very, very basically. A speech pathologist will help you to develop one of these, that it is the right phrases for you and what you need, because we know everyone is individual with the phrases that they require each day. The next one down here is a letterboard. If anyone's seen the movie Theory of Everything with Stephen Hawking, this is the communication board that he used at the very beginning. So it's basically you use your eyes and you look up to the top corner and they'll say black. You just give a signal, whether that's a nod or a blink, to say that's correct. And then you'll start, and then you'll go the letter inside that block. So, and it'll be, so if we're going an I, we'd go black, black. A H would be black, yellow. So it's you learning a different device and your carer also learning the device as well and how you communicate. The speech pathologist will be able to talk to you more about these as well. Okay, any questions about communication devices or the OB or any other assistive technology that you may have seen? Okay. Sorry, I've lost my cursor. There you go. So that was all of the equipment that I wanted to go through today. So if any of these pieces of equipment spark your interest and go, oh, that would be really good for me, have a chat to your occupational therapist or your speech pathologist if it's one of those communication devices, and we can talk to you, or your external therapist can talk to you about those devices as well. For those that are My Aged Care and not with us as our OT clients or in aged care, we're happy to do an advisory service as well. So that could be us coming into aged care and talking to the staff about what MND is and how to support you better. There is a charge for that for the aged care facilities, but it is something that we offer as well, so they can get some more education. Okay, I'm going to stop sharing my screen so I can see all of your lovely faces, and then I'll have any other questions.
With the aged care, that I'm living in, would it be you contacting them and saying, can I come and talk to you about motor neuron disease, or would I have to suggest it to them?
It can go both ways. So normally if you're in aged care, if you start suggesting it, it gets in their mind that it may be something that's beneficial for their carers to learn more about. My professional development plan at the moment, which I'm still talking to my manager about, is I want to create a package that I can just go, this is my MND research and education for aged care. And because of my aged care background, I would love to do a sweep of every aged care facility in South East Queensland. I know that's very much a pipe dream, but I think it's a service that I would love to do. So it's something that I'm working on at the moment.
I feel it's a pipe dream here because I'm the only one in the facility of 120 people with it.
Yeah.
And they say we haven't got time for it.
Yes,
When I
and that's
suggested it earlier.
That's very much the case.
Take their staff away to sit down and listen to a talk on it.
Yeah. So I spent 7 years in aged care and I saw 2 MND clients. So it is not in every aged care facility. We understand that. But we know that they also do a lot of professional development. So whether we can tag onto that and part of their rotation. So, yeah.
Thank you.
Janet.
I'd just like to support what Julie said. I was an RN for 50 years and I only ever nursed 3 people with MND in all that time, and 2 of them were in the last 5 years in Queensland before I had to retire. So it's not very, and that's in general nursing. That's not just in aged care.
Yes.
I had 2 in aged care, and the other one is so long ago I can't remember the details, but it was in a public hospital. But that's it. You know, there aren't that many cases that end up in hospital. So the staff, Julie, are very ignorant, and I'll say that as a nurse, they're ignorant, and the general public is ignorant as well.
Yeah.
They don't understand it.
No.
Yeah.
I've got family the same that don't, they say it couldn't possibly be painful. I've read about it and that you don't get pain with motor neurons. I do get pain.
You do get paid. Yes, we understand that. So that's part of what MND Queensland that I want to do is advocate for our clients with MND and those in aged care and do some education for them as well. So just so you guys are aware, so all of the aged care stuff is in the aged care facilities is coming to me, and I've actually had 3 different facilities contact me in the last 2 months asking for education.
That's good.
So we are getting out there. There is a cost to those facilities for the service, but which we are having a little bit more trouble getting approved because the RNs and the care coordinators want the training, but the facility managers are saying we don't have this funding. So I'm working with my team at the moment to how we can facilitate this a little bit better. So
I'll just jump in and say that I'm just going to turn the recording off now. Okay.
Thank you, Lee.